you are in charge of the Foreign Affairs Department of the BJP. BJP has presented itself as a party with an ideology. It presents itself as someone who believes in Hindutva nationalism, Hindu nationalism. If we look at Modi's foreign policy in the last 4 or 5 years, would you be confident enough to say that Modi has actually walked the ideological path of the party when it comes to international relations between India and the rest of the world?
I think we need to understand and differentiate what is policy and what is ideology. And long back, one of our greatest ideologue, Pandit Dindayal Upadhyay, has written in early 50s that nation's foreign policy is a policy and not ideology. That means it needs to have enough flexibility depending on the external environment and our own opportunities. So there is nothing iron cast in foreign policy. We should be very clear about it. After saying that, I must say that if we say overall our overarching principle is India first, then Modi ji has done several initiatives, and list is too long to say here. For example, very classic example can be of our relations with Israel, which we have not only strengthened but gave multiple dimensions, and we brought it above the radar only because of the initiatives of and we advocated it for a long period of time. Since 60s, since 50s, we were saying that we need to have good relations with Israel. But by and large, India's interests and global geopolitical scenario, that is what drives foreign policy, and it cannot be iron cast. That is what I would like to say.
Abhijit, would you agree with Vijay, and would you also explain how Modi's foreign policy is in sync or is not in sync with the overarching ideology of the party?
Right. So I'm going to quote somebody that would probably be very unpopular in this room, and that's Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. And he said there is no such thing as foreign policy. It's just a whole load of domestic policies projected abroad. And this is where I would say that Modi's been a mix of the two. What we have is, on one hand, you have a return to the first principles of non-alignment, which was actually a very good policy if it only acted non-aligned. You know, you can't be non-aligned ignoring Russia's invasion of Hungary, invasion and occupation of Hungary, and then go around criticizing America like Krishna Menon used to do at the UN for everything they did. That is not non-alignment. So it was, the first principles were good, it was diluted and eroded in action. And I think that's what Modi is getting back to. So when you see, as Vijayji said, with Israel, for example, it was counterbalanced with an equivalent visit to the Palestinian territories and things like that. And in a totally non-controversial way, where Israel's permission was taken to go there and everything was done. There are slight contradictions in the policy, but this will happen with every policy. There is no such thing as an absolutely consistent policy. For example, the Palestinians do very often what the Palestinians vis-a-vis Israel do what Pakistan does vis-a-vis India. For example, in Urdu, Pakistanis will say, you know, kill the Kafirun and all of that. With the English press, they'll always be like, well, we want peace. Why isn't Modi sitting down and talking to us? And the Palestinians do this. Yasser Arafat is on record several times instigating violence against Jews and Arabs. And then in English, he'll say, well, you know, I won the Nobel Peace Prize. Give me the respect due to a Nobel laureate. These are slight chinks, but overall, you have to admire the way this policy has been handled, that it's a almost zero controversy, well-managed policy. The most important thing is, now, if you look at the American presidential election, it was that Hillary Clinton's negatives were so great that they bogged her down and she lost the election. This was the problem with Krishna Menon and Nehru's policy, in a sense. That it was a good policy, but the negatives accrued too much. What Modi has done is, and this is the good part of it, it's leveled out the policy. It's reduced the negatives. The positives come from how strongly your economy performs. And we're not an economics panel, and you know I'm a harsh critic of Modi's economic policies. So I'm not going to go into that. The positives comes from economic policy, but the reduction of negatives that happen purely as a result of foreign policy, that's happened really well.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.